talking today with Simon Collins, the son of music legend Phil Collins. He has a songwriting DNA in his soul. I can feel it. He learned to play drums at the age of 5, and he composed from the age of 14. He has spent his entire life in and around music. Simon is releasing his 4th album, Becoming Human. So Simon, how are you doing, and how are you coping through the pandemic?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on the show, man. It's nice to meet you. And yeah, the whole pandemic, man. Like, I guess things haven't really changed much for me because I spend most of my time in the studio anyway. So I'm kind of like, sheltered from life in a way in the studio. It's I mean, the whole pandemic. I've got slightly controversial kind of opinion on all that. I don't really want to waste our time talking about it, just because it's a bit of a downer, the whole thing. And it's obviously affected everybody in different ways. Obviously, I wasn't able to tour to promote my new album, Becoming Human. But for other people, it was much more severe. People are losing their livelihood, their businesses, all sorts of things. Families have been torn apart. I mean, it's a horrible thing that's happened. And yeah, so it's everyone's got their way of coping with it. For me, it's just decided to sink myself into my work, really. And what's come out of that is 2 new projects, 2 new bands. Of course, I'm still promoting my 4th solo album, Becoming Human, but I'm in the middle of producing. Well, I've already written the album. It's a duo I've put together with my bandmate from Sound of Contact, Kelly Nordstrom, and it's a modern progressive rock band, and we're working on a double concept album right now. That's going to be out next year on Inside Out, Inside Out Music, Sony. So that's really exciting. I'm also put together a hip hop group because I'm actually a closet hip hop fan, big time.
Hey, we're near the same age, and yeah, I'm a bit of a hip hop fan too.
Yeah, it's kind of it's going in the trip hop direction, with a tinge of blues added to it.
Nice.
So I'm working on that too. And I'm co-producing most of that with the same guy, Robbie Ronneman, who co-produced Becoming Human with me, and we've become a really solid team and we've become really good friends. And so that's kind of like what I've been doing to deal with the pandemic is really just exploring new sonic territory and cross-pollinating genres. I mean, the progressive, the hip hop thing is actually it's progressive hip hop. So I'm all about the progressive music, man. I'm calling it prog hop.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So it's our first track's about 6.5 minutes long. So yeah, no, it's just great. I'm just exploring, man. Just keep pushing. I like taking risks. I get a buzz from that. I think it's important to take risks, and keep it real. Like, just, it's not about replication. Do you know what I mean? It's not about imitation or any of that. It's about doing something real and honest and genuine and authentic. And that's really satisfying to kind of come away from the studio at the end of the day, and you put a good day, good body of work in.
What I like is I do like a bit of fusion of sound. That's because you do come up with new things, and you laughing. You're just saying about hip hop, and I love the Beastie Boys, but I've gone into more of that electronics trap stuff as well.
Yes,
it's sort of, you kind of lean that way, don't you? It's just a feeling.
Absolutely, yeah, totally. I grew up listening to like Ice-T and Public Enemy and NWA Digital Underground, even Two Live Crew, a little bit just for fun. But yeah, so that's kind of like, and that's the same thing with progressive rock. Like, I was in my teens, I was a closet prog rock fan because it's not fucking cool, man. Prog was never cool. Do you know what I mean? It was like, you either listen to, like in high school, it's like you're defined by the music you listen to in a way. And, I got into post-punk big time, when I remember the moment I heard Smells Like Teen Spirit, and my jaw just dropped to the ground. I was like, what is this I'm hearing?
Massive
So,
time it was.
yeah. But all along, I was always loyal to Genesis and Pink Floyd and Yes and all that. And my dad used to take me to see those bands when I was young. So my musical education started at a very early age, and it started with progressive rock. It started with Genesis. It started with Pink Floyd and Yes and bands like that. Prince as well. Not so much. He's progressive too. So yeah, so that's kind of like started to become a bigger part of my music. Is the progressive side of things. It's always been there, but I'm really, really starting to embrace it more and more as I move forward.
I think I'm doing a similar thing, but it's what turn you go. I think I've gone that Pink Floyd way.
Right, it's a great way to go, man.
Oh, a lot of people
You're gonna
do
go
it.
any way.
It's a different way in this. There's so many different bands influence you, kind of. It's all
totally.
the bands you're talking about is all bands I've listened to myself.
Right.
You just grew up on it. You just had it.
Absolutely.
Your parents were giving it to you. Hey, listen to this. I mean, they give me Dark Side of the Moon, and I thought, what the hell's this?
Right.
And then suddenly one day
it snaps.
What the hell?
I know, right? That's the other thing as well. Like, I'm still getting something new out of some of these artists, depending on, the age, like certain lyrics didn't mean so, like the lyrics to Time by Floyd didn't really click with me, didn't really hit me on a deep existential level until much later, so it's the music that keeps on giving.
Definitely. Well, let's move on. So it's 13 years since your last album, You Catastrophe. Let's talk about.
My last album was Dimension Art.
Okay, my mistake. I do apologize.
That's all right. No. You mean my solo album, my last solo
sorry,
album.
yeah. So as a songwriter, how did you feel when you wrote this album? I mean, like, what was the feeling? Did you feel like you wasn't human at a stage, and this was you telling people that you were human? What sort of emotions did you have? Like,
wow, it's a big load. It's a loaded question. Well, I mean, like, I took my time. I took my time after after. Are you aware of Sound of Contact?
No, I ain't afraid.
I put together a prog rock band in 2010.
I have listened to all your material, but I haven't listened to that.
Yeah, I think you'd like Dimension. It's this full-on prog rock band. We only did one album together called Dimension Art. It's a concept album. About this Dimension Art. So it's a sci-fi theme. Anyway, Becoming Human was kind of a culmination of emotions, philosophies, dreams, the whole thing. It came out of a tumultuous time for me, back in 2000, about 2014, 2013, right around the time Dimension Art came out. I got divorced, and that was a nasty time, nasty divorce. The Sound of Contact broke up, and that was my dream band as well. I mean, I'd met all those guys from working in my solo career and hiring, musicians to come on the road with me. And I met all these people to put this dream band together. I put everything I had into it, and we were tapped for big things. And, we won Best New Band Award at the Prague Awards, and you sold a lot of records, and it was things were going well. That all kind of fell apart, and I won't go into detail about why and how. It's just, bands split up. So there was that. I also, I'm not sure if you picked up on this through my music, but I've been struggling with addiction for most of my adult life. And I've been in and out of recovery for years. So, before Becoming Human was made, um, I mean, there was no plan to make a record really, for quite a few years. I actually threw in the towel after Sound of Contact broke up. I threw in the towel. I was like, you know what, I'm done with music. I've, I've put, I've spent most of my adult life making music and trying to make a living from it as well. And it was tough go. It was tough go. And as I said, I don't regret any of it, but I just felt defeated for the first time in my life. I felt like maybe it's time to do something else with my life. And I was grieving in a way, man. I was grieving from my marriage. I was grieving from the band I put everything into, and that was, for the first time there was light at the end of the tunnel there. And I also, ended up relapsing hard. I had a couple of overdoses, um, and because I'm dealing with like post heroin addiction, and mainly that's probably the toughest one. Dealing with a lot of different addictions, and so writing an album was probably the most difficult thing to do. Really, it wasn't. I went through writer's block for the first time. The organ of my imagination just dried up, and I was, I got an offer from a record label, from Frontiers Records, to do an album. They were fans of Dimensionaut, and that kind of like, spurred me on to like, okay, maybe there is, another, there's another album in me, you know. And I just started collaborating with Robbie Bronyman. I brought him into the picture. I'd say, it's really an existential album, right? In this album, I'm really pondering existence on a universal level, and on a individual level, my own life. I'm talking about, it's rigorous honesty on this album. Honest about who I am, the things I've gone through, and I'm also asking big questions and suggesting, big answers. So,
Sorry.
so really, it's a very loosely based existential concept about, we're not human beings becoming spiritual. We're spiritual beings becoming human. I think, in my opinion.
It's fantastic, right?
So
yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's how I feel a lot. I know this thing about writer's block. I had it for 2.5 years, and to come back with something like that, to just put it on the line is a good thing. You release a lot of energy. You're telling,
totally.
there is something else to life.
It's cathartic. It was really the most cathartic album I've made. And it was like flushing all that shit out of my system and turning it into something beautiful is really like was my main. That's what I wanted to achieve. So it wasn't. It was a very organic process. It wasn't contrived. It wasn't forced. It wasn't. You can't plan for something like Becoming Human. It just came out of it came out sideways out of such a dark place, originally. Depression, suicide, suicidal tendencies, I'd say. Like I really just didn't at first I really didn't want to make the album. I was terrified, to be honest, of what would, what it would be, because I was in such a bad place. And I'm not one for being a victim. I'm not one for poor me, poor me. Like everyone's got a hard luck backstory. And I was like, you know what? There's millions of people out there that are going through the same thing as me. So, you know, to connect with my audience on that level, I think is something worthwhile. It's something worth doing. So there was some selflessness in making the album too, you know.
It's cool. I like that. It's like a lot of the meanings in the lyrics. I was listening to a song, "I Will Be Waiting," and it is a lot about suffering, and you talk a lot about Buddha. So, is
Yeah.
it like, was it an awakening, like a spiritual awakening? Because you
I
do
think
actually mention
yeah,
about
waking up to
connecting to
myself.
God and stuff like that, and it's
Yeah.
to me, I think as human beings, we suffer in life. We don't really understand it, and then suddenly,
Yeah.
some people just get it. And I know when you were saying earlier about like that emotion is, some people don't understand that. Like true songwriters have to put their feelings, and it's just a
Totally.
moment. It's a
Yeah.
moment, and you just say, "Hey, I'm going to do it," and it's in.
Absolutely.
You don't even know when it comes. You could be,
Yeah, you gotta accept that being an artist is, you don't have to, but it's good. I think I accepted, to be vulnerable. Um, I think like when you sing or when you write or whatever you do artistically, you are you are putting yourself out there for all sorts of criticism or whatever. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not, it's all about, if I can just reach one person, you know what I mean? I consider myself successful. If I can inspire someone to take a closer look at something from a different perspective, I consider myself successful. If I make the album I want to make, then that to me is success, for me to be honest about who I am and for me to come to acceptance on certain things, singing about certain topics that I'm not even comfortable talking about. Doing that to me is is all part of the process of being an artist, I think. And um, I really put my heart on my sleeve on this album. Really wanted to celebrate who I am. I mean, it might be a cheesy thing to say, but just be honest about who I am to myself and to the people people are listening. And I think solo albums are an opportunity for you to inject your philosophies, your ideas, your dreams, all sorts of things, your experiences, and share that with the world. I think that's for me. That's what a solo album's all about. You know what I mean? For the band, with Dimension, it was a pure work of fiction. And it's like there's room for play as well. So, um, yeah, yeah,
the next question I want to ask you is, because
sure,
we're actually the same age. So I know
right,
you've
44,
yeah,
yeah,
you've done a song called 40 Years, and that was what I was going to ask you. Like, we're two different people, but we're all on a journey. So
sure,
we're all. This is what I'm talking about. Like, you're on this journey when you wrote this album. You had this feeling, you had this emotions. So, like, what I wanted to know, what was your approach? Did something change? Did your songwriting change? Like when you said about your writer's block, um, one of the things you said earlier, one of the things I noticed is, hey, I can write anything. And I had such a problem saying to myself, I couldn't write because I was scared that someone would say this or this. So actually throw your whole self on the line and say,
yeah,
hey, this is me.
yeah.
What was your change, your approach in it? Like, did something just hit you, or
Um, I think I refuse to quit, refuse to give up on myself. Um, and I realized the only way through it was to to kind of to stop overthinking it, to instead of running a race and just wanting to get to the finish line, enjoying every step of the way. I think in kind of bring myself into the present moment, trusting myself, and learning to trust myself and to love myself again too, man, because I beat myself up, and that was just my writer's block. I think was just an extension of that, really a result or a symptom of that. So I had to get into a much better place. Obviously, like getting back into recovery helped. That definitely helped. I don't like to make I don't make music or record music if I'm out of it. I pride myself on that. But yeah, I mean, it's a spiritual journey. I mean, you have to go through some of the dark stuff to get to the light in a way, you know. So I think it was just like coming out of that grieving process as well, and just believing in the project, and that kind of just came with whenever there was a wave, man, I'd ride it. It didn't happen all the time, but embracing it when it happens, embracing the zone, respecting it too.
Explaining that, just explain that, the wave, because this is one thing I say to people when they never get me. To me, it's like a feeling. Like I wrote a song, I was about to lay down, I was tired all night, and it would not let me sleep.
Right.
It just wanted to come out, and I try to tell this to people, and they can never figure it out. It's just a moment, and you have to say to yourself,
you have to document it. Yeah.
Do I take this or do I fall asleep? Because I fall asleep, totally. You may never get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Ideas they flow in and out, and it's like it's up to you to embrace that. I'm very aware of. I had a dream last night just about. Do you ever get it when you'll hear a song in your dream? It's not a song that you've ever heard before or that you've written. It's just for whatever reason this song is in your dream. And I came away with these lyrics. I'm like, wow, this is deep stuff. Like I got to use that. So I mean, even in my dream time, I'm writing music. It's fucking amazing. And it doesn't happen all the time. Like right now, I'm really in the zone. I'm like my output is just like I've never had this kind of output before in my life. I'm writing tons of lyrics, the concept for the album, different projects, and I'm somehow finding time for it all. Not getting that much sleep probably, but I just feel like I'm on a mission to get meaningful music out there and fight for the light. What's going on the planet right now. The classic kind of good versus evil. Even if my music's a ray of light, at least I'm in the light of darkness. So I feel like I've got a higher calling. I feel like it's not just about record sales and touring and awards, and it's not about that for me. It's really about making great timeless music that communicates something real, positive, and inspiring. And
you put your feelings and your love into that.
Oh, big time.
That always transfers to other people. That's one thing. The one thing I've learned in music is feeling is the most important thing. Like you say.
Oh, totally.
Like we're talking now. A lot of people know me. I'm like this. I don't sleep a lot. It's like you just feel like you just can't stop. It's just like you write something and you're so enjoying it and you just want to bring it to life. The greatest gift, I say, is you get all this material good, but music comes from nothing. You can build it from absolutely nothing.
I know, absolutely.
Next thing you're sitting there, you're like, hey, what have I created? What is this?
Yes, absolutely. It's such a great. I feel blessed to be making music for my life, for a living. It's and I inspire and I encourage all the people around me in my life to do the same. My fiance, I just bought her a piano, and I'm teaching her how to use Logic at the moment because she's talented. She's a talented singer. She's got an intuitive ear for melodies, and I've got my own record label called Light Years, and I'm in the process of developing a couple of different projects from different artists that have sent me their stuff over Facebook. I'm all for I'm all for supporting, championing other artists and that are doing something great musically. So it does go beyond my own music as well. I'm inspired by other people's art as well, people around me.
I think when you just have conversations, sometimes you can get inspired. I mean, it's
Oh
just
yeah,
when you
absolutely.
talk about the passions you like, when you say, like, I think you were
Yeah,
saying earlier about you doing DJing when you started out,
right,
and
yeah,
you were saying how you got into like the hip hop and the feel and that everything sort of contributes, then it comes together. Like,
absolutely. Yeah, they're all flavors. It's all Godfather, really. Um, yeah, the whole DJ thing. I mean, I really got into psychedelic trance in my 20s. I was living in Germany, and because I was with Warner Germany at the time, and so I moved there to promote the album properly, or as best I could. And I just started getting into techno, and then that eventually got into psychedelic trance, and the next thing I'm DJing, and I played at Burning Man as well. That was pretty amazing experience. I don't know if you've heard of Burning Man or not.
no, I've been to Germany a couple times, and not as probably you've been there a lot more than me.
I have. It's a demographic for me. I've got a lot of fans in Germany. I sold a lot of records there, and it's yeah, I have something in my heart for Germany for sure.
How
But
long? How long
yeah,
did you spend in Germany?
like 3 years
That's cool.
living in Frankfurt.
Did you go down to like tour around places like Berlin and all that?
Yeah, I just did a lot of traveling. Um, what I loved about Frankfurt is I could drive to Amsterdam or Prague or Rome, and it was all within like 5, 6, 7 hours. You could
Cool.
be in totally different country and experience a completely different kind of culture within hours. So I loved that. That was great. Really, really enjoyed that. And yeah, so I decided to kind of part ways with Warner after my first album, and moved back to Canada, and I started my own record label, and I finished my second solo album and released that independently, and that was a big learning experience for me. And a fuck of a lot of work, man. Jesus. I mean, but that's what I wanted to do. I was passionate about it, and I like the idea of being in the driver's seat, because when you're signed with a big label like Warner, you really you're just not in control of most of it. You know?
Is that the big point? You like you felt constricted a lot, like
Yeah, well, it's an artist deal, and so I mean, financially, they're putting tons and tons of money into it, which is great. But you have to remember you got to pay all that back. But it's yeah, I think artistically, I mean, it coming down to writing your own video treatments or what have you. Um, the way it's marketed and promoted, all that stuff, I prefer to be a part of that. I really do. And so I've kind of managed myself for the last kind of 7 years, 8 years. It wasn't much to manage, to be honest. But um, yeah, I think it's important to be self sufficient in this music industry, and be have a small. I'd rather have a small, tight knit team of people that are of like mind, because the music industry is about people. You're investing in people, and so
do you think the music industry more as a business? The way you're talking from more of a like a personal, like when you did your album Becoming Human, it's all you. You could do what you want. No one could tell you what to do. But in the music, I call it music business because it was called the music industry.
sure,
It's more
yeah,
of a business, like you said. It's more
yeah,
you've got to do this, got this. The freedoms you have to express more is obviously a lot more important.
absolutely, yeah. That's the thing. I mean, like, apart from the Warner deal for my first album, the way I've done it is I pay for my own productions. I do my own album productions. I don't have any labels investing in that. I just license it out to a bigger label. So with that, I'm in control of all the promotional tools, and the label does the distribution, does a bit of marketing, whatever, co-marketing. But Yeah, you got. I mean, there's a business end. I mean, you can make the most amazing album in the world, and if no one fucking hears it,
Well, that's the
so you got to
problem.
have that. You got to have that sorted out. So yeah, it is a music business, big time. And it's taken me a long time to kind of to get to a point where I've I feel I can, yeah, I can, I've I've taken care of it, taken care of it all. So I've got a small team around me. Um, we working for my label, and that's, I'm not signing any other artists. It's more just an outlet for my stuff. But that's a way to kind of just kind of keep like wanting to making the album you want to make, instead of a record label coming in and paying for the album production and sending an A&R guy down to the studio every 3 weeks to start poking his finger into, it's just getting involved where you shouldn't get involved,
But
so
it's
like
more.
making the album that you want to make, making the album I want to make is the most important thing out of all of it. So I've taken the steps, business wise, to make sure that's possible.
That gives you the more expressive experience. You can then make decisions. Yes, I want to put this in. Like
Yeah,
what we get. Like I've never been into the music business. I'm an indie artist, but we hear so many stories. This can't be done. This can't be done. I can't put this track in because they want it like this. But with that
right,
the
exactly.
freedom,
Yeah,
you could say, "Hey, I'm going to take a risk.
yeah,
I'm just going to go with that.
yeah. It's just
This is what I'm feeling."
make the album, and then then you shop it, and say, either you like it or you don't like it. I'm not going to change a thing. So that's, instead of sending, rough demos and what do you think of that? And most people in those positions don't really know what they're talking about either. So, or, making decisions for all the, the reasons that you probably don't want. So it's for sure the, making the music that I make isn't easy to label either. So, and that's like making dynamic records isn't isn't something that record labels like so much. I haven't been the easiest artist to market, because I'm not specifically one genre. I'm a culmination of, progressive rock, pop, electro, metal,
I,
ambient.
but I think that's a lot of people today are like that. Like if you,
Yeah.
we like I said, we're the same age, and I'm exactly the same. One day I'm making a song that's completely not what I do, and you still mingle it in. And that's
Yeah.
the thing is, I think a
It's
lot of
still
people,
you though, isn't it? It's still part of you. It's still an
yeah,
extension, isn't it? I mean, I just wrote this really bluesy course for the hip hop thing, and I've never written a blues note in my life. I was like, where did this come from? You'd be surprised. It's great when you can continue to surprise yourself, and that's a good sign if you're coming out with stuff that's kind of left field or from what you do. That's cool, man, because that means that you're really open. You're really the floodgates are open, and it's not coming from a cerebral place. It's coming from a place from the soul, from the deeper parts of yourself.
did
I
you
think
did you feel that with your album? Then was that the
totally,
thing?
totally. Yeah, I didn't sit down and say, okay, what am I going to write about here, or what do people want to hear, or it wasn't so many. It wasn't like there weren't a lot of creative decisions. It was more creative experiences documented, and um,
Because I can really hear it in the lyrics. I
yeah,
hear it in the lyrics. Like sometimes I was sitting there and some of the words are saying, I'm saying, wow, this is very mature, and there's very deep meanings in it.
yeah. There's
I mean, you've
metaphysical
done a song like Dead Ends, and I was like, is he saying that these are all the dead ends, like all the dead ends in life,
right, right.
it's just a.
That I wrote that to be cryptic, but it's really kind of a culmination of quite a few different conspiracy theories. I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist. Um, more about conspiracies, not so much conspiracy theories. So that was kind of more about Agenda 21 and that freaky thing that's happening. But I wrote it 3 years before. Well, obviously Agenda 21, 2021. So I wrote it a few years before it actually started kind of happening. And when I say Agenda 21, I'm talking about part of that is the pandemic and everything. But I don't want to get into that. It's murky. It's murky waters to be discussing. But it's yeah. So I think it's important to leave things to interpretation. It depends, it depends, like if there's something that you really want to say, if there's a message you want to get out there to people, then maybe cryptic approach isn't always the best way. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you want to confuse people more, or do you want to lead people down the wrong track? Obviously not, but it's also, you don't want it to be too literal either. So it's kind of like a balancing act, really.
You want them to think. You want them to sort of
Totally.
engage and
Get the
sort
wheels
of.
turning.
Yeah, that's what it's about. That's for me what music's about as well.
Oh,
Like you say,
absolutely, yeah.
you're saying what you want. You try, even it's cryptic, like very the experiences you learn. If something just catches one person, it just sort of changes everything, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And it's cool because I'm getting messages from fans, fans of the album, that are saying how it's affected them or reached them, and that to me is probably the most rewarding thing. And it's also like connecting with people of like mind through the process, which is really cool. It's all meant to kind of make people think. I like to think that my music is thought provoking, not just thought provoking, but emotionally provoking as well. I want to make you feel something. And today's day, everything's so, we're also kind of like not immune, but not dumbed down either.
I know.
But
I know what you mean.
you know what I mean? Like it's just, it takes a lot to make people feel these days. You got to really go out and say something, and it takes much more to wake people up to something, I think, because there's so much information. Everyone's being bombarded with so much today.
I think
They don't
that's
know
a
what to
big.
think anymore.
Well, that's a big thing. I think in the modern life is there's so much out there. For me, is sometimes like you said, you're in the studio and you've been working and you keep working. People say, "Hey, Simon's quiet." This is like me, but sometimes all that information clouds your mind, and sometimes when you're in that space on your own, this is when this energy just comes and you just sit there writing. But some of it you see is it's so the modern life is very in the face. Everybody's got to be telling everybody everything, but they
So
don't. But they
you
don't
can't
look
say
inwards.
anything anymore either.
No, I know.
Right?
No,
Shit.
don't say nothing. You get crucified for
I
it.
know, right? It's just like go along with the narrative. This is what it's about. This is what's happening. So freedom of thought, and freedom of like wisdom is not encouraged at all. Individuality is over. The individuality thing is over now. We're just wearing the one-piece suit. Everyone looks the same.
But that's the way I think. Like you as a songwriter, you get the chance to express that, and it is hard. Like in modern life, like you said, it's very hard with like the mental strains of life and everything.
Yeah,
It's them moments when you do go inside yourself, and like you said, there's something spiritual in there, and then
yes,
it wakes you, and then you've got to say what you've got to say, and that's what's more important.
absolutely, man. Absolutely. I'm not sure if you're a Coldplay fan, but their new single "Higher Power" really hit me big time, because it's like there's so much darkness out there at the moment, and what's going on. as I said, the good versus evil. And it's just like, when there's a ray of light out there, it hits me. It's just like that. We need more of that. And Coldplay is under a lot of scrutiny or whatever. I think they're a great band. And they got a lot of positive things to say, and they've made millions and millions of people happy. So they got to be doing something right. But their new single "Higher Powers" is an example of kind of the kind of level of the level I like to be at, was as far as putting something positive out there, because we all owe it to each other to kind of to share knowledge, share wisdom, educate ourselves. And we can't change the world, but one person can't change the world, but you can start with yourself. And that's empowering each other and ourselves is really the answer to a lot of the problems, the key to unlocking our differences as a society, as a collective conscience.
It's a more global game. Like I'm talking to you now in Canada. We could never do that 25 years ago.
True.
It's a total new game.
Yeah. I've moved to Ireland. I'm in Ireland now.
Oh, you're in Ireland?
Yeah. It's it would be like through 4 a.m. for me.
Wow.
If that was good. Oh, it's your 4 a.m. interview, no problem. Still fucking be up anyway. But
what can I ask you?
I moved a few years ago, actually. To help my mom because she's not well. So I moved here to support her, and she's getting better. Well, she's not getting worse, but she's not getting better either. She's kind of plateaued. Anyway, so I'm out here in Middle Earth, helping her, just in whatever. She can't really go into town anymore, so I'm I'm taking care of the errands and whatever I can do to help her. And
it's very good. You got to support your family in that.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, they spend most of their life doing, they're supporting you and backing you. And it's just when they start to get old and they need help, it's like you gotta reciprocate that. You gotta be there for them. That's how it works, as far as I know. So yeah, no, it's a cool spot. I mean, I'm deep in the countryside.
Good.
And
great
it's
for
quiet, peaceful.
Yeah.
I can make lots of noise. I'm just surrounded by potato farmers. So.
I want to just ask you one question. One more is, you said about light and dark. What did you mean about that, light and dark? You said there's light and there's dark out there.
Oh, I'm talking about the I'm talking about
You're talking about
love,
more like,
and I'm talking about the difference between love and evil, the classic kind of Mithraic cult kind of thing of just classic good versus evil, has always been around, but not on this level. This is a global tyranny we're looking at, and it's defining or delineating between the good and the bad on the planet. I think this is our chance to evolve spiritually. I think that's it's probably a blessing in disguise. But yeah, the light is really the good, the love, the kind, the compassion, the forgiveness, the selflessness, all that's good, pure, and beautiful. That's what I'm for. That's what I want to communicate. And because we're in a murky world, man, murky times, politically, socially, spiritually.
I can see what you're saying. I totally agree with you. It's completely seemed to have fell out of sync, everything, of our values, the way we are.
Yeah.
Like you said, politically, like I'm from England, like the UK, you could say it's political here, but it's everywhere. Every country's
Oh
having
yeah,
the
of
same
course,
effect.
man.
And it's
And it's
something like you said needs to shift. The light needs to turn.
yeah, absolutely. And it's all about like finding away from avarice, really, because that's what it boils down to. Um, so, you know, I posted something on Facebook the other day saying, when you wake up in the morning today, I ask you to consider doing something selfless and see how that feels. You know, and one person got back to me, like, posted on that same thread like a week later saying, ever since I posted that message, that um, he's been doing something selfless, every day, one selfless act a day. I'm like, wow, I've reached one person. That makes it all worthwhile, you know. So yeah, it's just
That's
finding
good.
a way back to mankind, you know.
Well, I'd like to say thank you for the interview.
Oh yeah, pleasure, man.
And like you just said, you just finished it, is about being human.
Absolutely,
That's what it's about. It's about finding yourself and being yourself.
absolutely, man. You got it. Thanks so much for your time, man. It's great talking to you,
Thanks, bud.
and we'll see you again soon.